The defending champ, Louisiana Ragin Cajuns, roll. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, a great first full day of competition for the men's, right? 4 ball games. South Alabama, Georgia Southern, Cajuns, and Coastal in the morning. And then you had Marshall and Georgia State and also Texas State playing in the afternoon. And forgetting one team. Who did I forget? Southern Miss. Sorry about that. My apologies. Let's start off with the defending champs, the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. A little turmoil coming into the tournament. A, not playing very well, and B, missing their starting point guard. Themis Folks, they said he was sick, didn't play on for last Friday. We've been over that. He may or may not have quit following last Wednesday's ball game. Not sure. Doesn't really matter. That's a nice juicy story for later on. But all of a sudden, they're playing better, or at least in this case, shooting the ball better. They made 6 3-pointers in the first half. They made 3 in the second half. I mean, they still shot. What did they shoot? 3-pointers. I mean, they shot, 31%. Not great. They shot almost 50% from the floor overall. And, they got off to a quick start. They had an 18-point lead at one point. That was 13 at half. And I think Coastal may have gotten it close to double digit, down to 10 or 9, something like that. But then the Cajuns went on another run, and they were up 20 almost immediately after that. Their biggest lead was 65 to 43. Coastal hit some shots down the stretch that made a 20-point game a 14-point game, but this was really all Ragin Cajuns. So Kobe Julian led the way, 25 points, 10 of 15 shooting. Overall, 2 of 6 from 3. Michael Thomas, didn't play quite as well as he did against Southern Miss, in 7 points, 2 of 7 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, hit a couple of free throws, did have 4 assists and 2 turnovers in 29 minutes of play. I guess the good thing here is that it was rather a blowout, and not a lot of guys played a whole lot more than 30 minutes. Now they'll get the day off on Friday. We know that. But Joe Charles played 33 minutes. Kobe Julian, 31. Thomas started 29. Brandon Hardy started 26. Hosseini Kitinge with 24. That's not a lot. Kevin Garnett off the bench with 31. So they shouldn't be too bad when they do take on Arkansas State. Now, Arkansas State's played incredibly well down the stretch, despite their loss to App State in the last game of the regular season. So we'll see what happens. Again, the Cajuns got out to a big lead. Coastal didn't have much. Meyer had 22. Blackman had 17. Easley had 14. But Coastal wasn't really in this ball game after like the 5-minute mark. They both got off to slow starts, and then the Cajuns just started hitting threes. And what was a slow start? Let's see. The first TV timeout was, let's see here. Media timeout at 15:34 of the first half was 5-4 Cajuns. I'm sorry, 5-4 Coastal at 5:50. Let's see what it was at the next media timeout. I don't know if I see a second media timeout at the 12-minute mark now. No. I don't see another media timeout for a bit here. Actually, the Cajuns really didn't take control until it was 18-16 with 9:32 to go. And then they went on a big run to go up 38-19. So what was a 2-point game, they went on a 20-3 run, and that was the ball game for all intents and purposes. So good start for the Cajuns. They did shoot the ball well. Again, some of these numbers are going to be a little bit off for Coastal Carolina. I want to see what they did, what the Cajuns did defensively. I mean, Coastal only shot 40%, only 15% from three. They were missing their center, so that doesn't help. They did out-rebound the Cajuns despite missing the center, 41-32. Cajuns with more bench points, which is interesting because they lost a guy off their bench in Michael Thomas. He's now starting. I mean, overall, the Cajuns just dominated this ball game en route to trying to defend their title. And again, they will take on Arkansas State on Saturday. All right. The other ball game early on was one of the more odd ball games so far of this tournament. I really should break this down into the first 10 minutes, the second 10 minutes, the third 10 minutes, and the fourth 10 minutes. Georgia Southern got off to a incredibly good start. South Alabama was down 20-7, and that was early. Georgia Southern beat South Alabama 76-71. And it was 20-7 early, 10:28 left to go in the first half. It was 37-34 at half. Georgia Southern would dominate the first 10 minutes of the half, and then South Alabama would dominate the second 10 minutes of the half. And the same thing happened in the second half. Georgia Southern got out to a big lead in the second half, and South Alabama what happened was Georgia Southern got into big-time foul trouble. We'll go over those foul shots because that was absolutely lopsided. Not saying that they weren't fouls. I'm just saying that it was lopsided. I mean, Georgia Southern had a 12-point lead, 60-48 with 10 minutes left to go. South Alabama went on a 16 run is not a whole lot. Because they got a little bit at the extra. But, I mean, South Alabama actually had a shot to take the lead. Turbo Jones missed a three. They would have gotten the lead. They got it down to 69-67, and Turbo missed a three-pointer off of the inbounds with a minute to go. And then Malik Tidwell hit the game-clinching three-pointer to push a 2-point lead to 5-point lead, and that was it. The stats in this one, again, the free throws, South Alabama was 24 of 31. Let's see here. I thought it was more than that. Turbo Jones, 15-16 from the line. Smurf Millender had 14 points, but Marshall Kearing had the game of his career. Had 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, a couple of steals. He was 3 of 3 from three-point line. But the difference in the game is really Georgia Southern did a great job on Samuel Tabe. They just did a great job on not allowing the smaller guy to go up against somebody his size. He was always going up against somebody bigger than he was. He did have 7 points, 3 of 8 shooting, only 1 of 3 free throws. So Georgia Southern came in with a really good game plan and executed it. They had like 5 guys in double figures. Moore had 18. Banks had 14. Parker had 11. Bryant had 10. Bradford had 13 points. South Alabama also missed a bunch of layups. They missed a bunch of shots up close. Millender was only 5 of 12. Turbo Jones, despite having 22 points, was 3 of 13. South Alabama also was just 5 of 18 from three-point land. I mean, Georgia Southern was basically, I think they led the whole way. Yeah, they did not trail the whole way. As I mentioned, South Alabama could have had a lead late, but just could not overcome it. Again, the first 10 minutes of each half was all Georgia Southern, And the second 10 minutes of each half was all South Alabama. Like if this game was another 5 minutes, it may have gone in another direction, but it wasn't. So Georgia Southern, who started out 0-12 this year, now advances to the Sun Belt quarterfinals. All right, let's take a timeout. We will come back. Marshall ends their 7-game losing streak, and Texas State continues to impress and surprise at the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. When we come back, we will do that. Let me tell you about Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing view experiences with smart TVs, as well as a Fire TV stick they can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all the games, game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports. March Madness, NBA, Major League Baseball, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this, I do have it. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. And Lafayette Travel. Escape to Lafayette, Louisiana, the happiest city in America, where every visit is uniquely seasoned with unforgettable experiences. Savor world-class cuisine, including mouth-watering boudin, savory gumbo, and piping hot crawfish, seasoned to perfection. Experience lively festivals that celebrate Lafayette's one-of-a-kind heritage, explore magnificent trails that lead you through our rich cultural history and breathtaking natural beauty. Discover the untouched purity of our cypress and tupelo swamps, where you can paddle past nesting birds and sunbathing alligators. Immerse yourself in the vibrant rhythms of Cajun and Zydeco music that can be heard any night of the week. Whether your passion is for the rich cultural history, the bustling culinary scene, or the distinctive blend of Cajun and Zydeco music, the happiest city in America has something for everyone. Start planning your adventure at LafayetteTravel.com/season. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Plan is still to be in Pensacola on Sunday. Games are not until 5, so I got a little bit of time to get over there. I'm hosting the high school boys championship games, which will be fun. I've never done anything like that, so that'll be fun. 5 games on Friday, 5 games on Saturday. If you are in Louisiana, you can download the app LHSAA Network, and you can watch it on your TV. So looking forward to that. Should be some good stuff. Couple of local Lafayette schools are in it, so that'll be fun for me. All right, let's talk about more of the second round of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament in Pensacola. Texas State, which made a run last year to the semifinals, appear to be trying to do that again. They knocked off Southern Miss, their second win in this tournament. Matt Stewart, who we had on to preview it, like they are from the 11 seed the last 2 years, they're 5-1. They won 3 games last year, only lost 1, have won 2 games this year. Texas State beat Southern Miss 75-59, and I don't think this was much of a game either. Texas State took a 34-23 lead at half, jumped on top of Southern Miss to begin the second half, and it wasn't much of a game. Iwaku had 6 points only. Austin Crowley was back. Victor Hart had a big ball game, 20 points and 9 rebounds. Curbelo actually had 10 points. Mo Arnold only 7, but I'm not sure if Southern Miss was interested or what the case was, or Texas State's just playing better, which they are. It was good to see the coach, Jay Ladner, on the bench. That was certainly the highlight for Southern Miss and what's been a tough season with a bunch of different injuries and, the coach having a serious health issue. So we're good to see him back on the sidelines, although I think Juan Cardona was still doing the coaching. But Southern Miss was just wasn't in this ball game in the second half. Not at all. It was not a threat in the second half. Nothing like what South Alabama did with a chance to take a lead, down double digits in the first half and got close, and then down double digits in the second half and had a chance to take the lead, which sometimes is all you can ask. For Texas State, Horn had 20 points, Mason had 18, and Dawson had 12. Texas State now takes on Troy, which they just beat last Friday. So all of a sudden, is Texas State on like are they on a 4-game winning streak? What? All of a sudden, what are they on? They're on a 5-game winning streak. How about that? They beat Georgia State. They beat Monroe. They beat Troy to end the regular season. And now they've beaten Old Dominion and Southern Miss. So all of a sudden, outside of maybe App State and JMU, Texas State is the hottest team in the Sun Belt. And now maybe we're going to see, again, this is where that, getting the double bye is important. But Texas State had Wednesday off. They will get Friday off. They will have played a couple of games this week. And Troy has not played since they lost to Texas State last Friday. So we'll see if that comes in to play. Same thing goes for, and I guess we'll preview this coming up in the next segment, but that Cajuns-Arkansas State game is going to be fascinating. So congratulations to Texas State. They move on. Southern Miss did not finish up the way that they wanted to, obviously. But again, good news that Jay Ladner was on the bench for the Golden Eagles. The last ball game of the night was Marshall taking on Georgia State. And these two teams had just played. Georgia State had taken care of Marshall last Friday. And Marshall got off to a big start in this ball game too. It was 19-5, like immediately, like 7 minutes in, maybe. Let's check it out. I mean, this was a blowout from the get-go, except the Panthers came back. It was 19-5, less than 6 minutes into the game. Kevon Voiles made a layup, and that made it 19-5. Now, in this ball game, unlike the Southern Miss game, Georgia State was actually down by 14 points in the first half and actually took the lead. They led by 3, 29-26, but Marshall came back, kept on hitting threes. Kerfman had the game of his career, 30 points, 9 of 12 from three-point land. Tough to do. When you're shooting 14 of 29 from 3, and although Georgia State was 10 of 19, which is really good, it's tough to beat someone when they're 14 of 29 from 3. They hit 14 threes and 17 twos. Marshall was in control of this one. Was mostly a double-digit lead for most of the second half. Georgia State cut it to 5 at halftime, but mostly a double-digit lead. Georgia State never really made a run in the second half. Voiles also had 30 for Marshall. Taylor had 20 for Georgia State. Lane had 19 for the Panthers as well. And not a great season for Georgia State. Could have been, but they, went into the tank in the last month. Marshall went into the tank in the last month. Now Marshall is going to be taking on JMU, and maybe they got a shot to surprise, which would be a major shock. Not going to sit here and say, well, Marshall played a game and got it in one game under their belt. It would be a major shock if Marshall took down number 2, JMU. So Marshall beats Georgia State 86-74, and that wraps up the quarterfinals, or the second round, I should say. Let's preview the quarterfinals of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament when we come back right after I tell you about LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that's 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm going to try and get a bonus episode in. Again, I will be busy. I'll be watching Louisiana high school basketball, but I'll try to have this on the computer as well, have the Sunbelt on the computer. So we'll hopefully have an episode to preview Sunday's semifinals. That is the idea. We'll do an episode, I'm going to guess not Saturday night, but maybe Sunday morning before I take off to Pensacola. Maybe not only does it catch you up, but it's certainly going to catch me up from what I'm going to miss. Okay, so let's see here on Saturday for the Sun Belt. The first game, I believe, is App State. Yeah. All right. The number 1 seed, the regular season champs, taking on Georgia Southern. App State has only lost twice. Well, no, twice in the Sun Belt. They lost to Northern Illinois, Oregon State, UNC Asheville, and they did lose to Troy. The big game that's crushing their net is probably Texas State. But they have not lost since they lost to Texas State. Reeling off wins, Toledo, Marshall, Louisiana, Old Dominion, Marshall, Old Dominion, Arkansas State, and Georgia Southern. So they've won, not Georgia Southern, they're playing Georgia Southern. So they've won 7 in a row. Did I get that right? So they've won 7 in a row. And their other losses at Troy by only 4, 66-62. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they've won that's 16 ball games. They've won 15 out of 16. I think something like that. 15 out of 16. So again, give it up to Charlie Henry and the Eagles, for winning a ball game. I thought South Alabama was playing well coming in and turning their season around. With all due respect to Old Dominion, they could have very easily had an Old Dominion type season. The only way that Georgia Southern wins this ball game is if they shoot lights out from 3. That's what they're going to want to do. App State's pretty good defensively. They're pretty long. The only way that Georgia Southern is going to win this ball game is putting up some threes. What was the game? Did they play earlier this year? App State. Oh, no. I'm sorry. So Georgia Southern, I thought the App State had lost it. No. Georgia Southern lost to App State 84-74 and 85-84. So they've given App State a little run for their money. App State came back. That's right. They had to come back in the second half, beat them in overtime in Statesboro, 85-84. All right. Let me see what the team stats were. Georgia Southern shot 10 of 24 from 3. That's the kind of effort that's going to take, right? That's what it's going to take. They probably should have won that ball game. And now that memory serves. So, for a team that's only won 9 ball games all year long. No, is that right? That's not right. Yeah, 9 ball games all game long, all season long. Georgia Southern's giving App State a little bit of fits. How about that? All right. I still think App State wins the game. All right. This is the one where I'd be very careful. Arkansas State and the Cajuns. Now as a Howie, Themis Folks, who won't be playing, had some good games against the Cajuns. But that's probably because Hosanna Kintinge was outstanding in 2 ball games against Arkansas State. Cajuns got off to a rough start this year, and then they went into Jonesboro after a bad loss to Troy, and Kintinge had a ridiculous ball game. Kintinge, this may have been his coming out party, 25 points and 7 rebounds. Then in the return ball game, that was down here, was delayed a night because of a power outage in Lafayette. Not necessarily just the Cajun Dome, but in the neighborhood that the dome was in. The Cajuns had to hang on to win that ball game. 81-75. They were up 41-28 at half. They had a tough time again against Katinge, although he only had 13 points, did have 8 rebounds, had a couple of assists, shot it 5 times. They do not, for whatever reason, double team him. I'm going to look for the double team there. Kobe Julian had a big ball game against the Cajuns. We'll see if Arkansas State lights it up from 3. That's what Brian Hodgson, Charlie Henry from the Nate Oates school of jacking up the threes and trying to use that. All right. And so tough to beat a team 3 times in a row. I would expect something a little differently defensively from Arkansas State against the Cajuns' big guy. They're taller guys, one-on-one, don't have any shot against Katinge. It's got to be anywhere from a 40 to 60-pound difference. And the taller guy for Arkansas State actually weighs less than the other guy. So they do what they can, but Katinge, I think, is listed. Is he listed at 285? What's he listed at? He's listed at 6'8", 270. Stay hot. All right, elsewhere in the Sun Belt. So that's the top of the bracket. I'll probably take the Cajuns. That's a homer pick, admittedly. Rolling the dice on that one. I'd love to see what the line is. I'm going to check back. That's why I want to do the Sunday episode. I want to see what the lines are in these ball games. You do have Troy at Texas State. Again, you want to be careful. Scott Cross has been in this position before. This is nothing new. I'll take Troy in that one. I think they'll take care of Texas State. Although I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't think Troy blows anybody out. Does Troy blow anybody out? They're tough team to beat. They blew out Marshall by 16. They blew out Kent State by 10. They lost Arkansas State by 9. They blew out Monroe by a bunch. They beat Arkansas State by 8. Beat Monroe by 6, blew out the Cajuns by 14, and they lost it. Yeah, so it can go either way. Probably free throws and 3-point shooting. So I'll take Troy in that one, and definitely taking James Madison against Marshall. Good for Dan D'Antoni's team to, show a little heart right at the end of the season. It's a good way to, even though it ends with a loss, right? As the cliche says, only one team's happy at the end of the tournament, but you don't go into the offseason with an 8-game losing streak, which would be brutal. You go in with a nice win, and, maybe Kerfman has another 9 for 12 shooting, right? You got to make some 3-pointers to take down James Madison. They are just too good. Still think James Madison's got an outside shot at making the NCAA tournament with an at-large berth, but they got to be rooting for App State for that to happen. So they are not being helped. They're also rooting, to be honest with it, they are also rooting for Troy. They don't want to play Texas State if they can avoid it. Tough to ask for those things, but if James Madison had their druthers, that's what they would rather do, I would believe. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. So what do we got? We'll have, I think, App State against the Cajuns. App State will probably win that one. And we will have a JMU against Troy. Now, we'll see if all 4 teams win. Maybe all 4 top 4 seeds win, or does one go by the wayside? We shall see. Again, thanks very much for tuning in. Again, if you see me in Pensacola, be sure to say hi, say hello. I'm not difficult to spot. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. We're continuing to grow. Thought it was a really good interview with Jared Parker. Appreciate his time. We'll try to get on Mike Jones, the new head basketball coach for ODU. Also, the request for Del McGee has been put in there. Obviously, he's a little bit busy, so hopefully we'll get him a little bit later on as well. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.